crisis for the geek kind. Top geek officials admit they underestimated the hipsters' defense capability. Join the geek revolution and save the galaxy. Geeks from all over the globe are joining up to fight for the future. They're doing their part. Are you? Want to know more? Join We Be Geeks and the Geek Revolution and save the world. Service guarantees citizenship. Listen to We Be Geeks podcast on iTunes and Stitcher or online at webegeeks.net. We Be Geeks, your voice for the Geek Revolution. Want to know more?
Definitive 365 cut. These are the meaningless ramblings of a Scottish redone whore and a pissy ex-video store clerk. Their ongoing mission is to set right the movie wrongs. They're gonna need a bigger podcast.
Hello everybody out there, you are listening to the 365 Flicks podcast. This is episode 52 and we have a bit of a different episode for you tonight. First of all though, my name is Kevin Halden. The man sitting across from me on the Skypes is...
I am the Scottish Whedon whore.
Yeah, I'm just bringing that up because you decided to phone this one in tonight.
Shut up, had the backache, don't question me.
I am literally just back off holiday only a few hours ago. And I jumped straight back into the booth because I love all of you listeners so damn much to bring you this episode of 365 Flicks podcast. We've just finished recording the Invasion episode of Another Damn Wrestling Show. Anybody who hasn't been listening to that, you really should. It's awesome because we're on it. We took it over.
Yeah, exactly.
We are the the takeover. We're the invasion. The Brits have landed once again.
I like to think the premier hosts of the show.
Yes, very much so. The what would you like if you could liken yourself to someone? We are
someone.
God, or something. If you want to do something.
Well, if we're going to stick with the wrestling thing, I would say glorious.
Glorious. That is our outro.
Me. That one. Yeah.
That is our outro for the show as well.
Yes, it is, and rightly so.
Which is very fair.
We are glorious.
We certainly
and we're fighting them off one at a time. God damn it.
Oh yeah, if those bad boys keep coming at us, we're going to take them down. It's not happening. As you call them, the ungrateful colonials are not taking that show back. It's ours.
No.
It's ours now. It's ours till we say otherwise. But this is the 365 Flicks, and if you found us on the iTunes, thank you so very much for finding us on the iTunes. There's a little button at the side for you to rate, review, subscribe, give us 5 stars because we are totally worth it. Leave a nice little review, or leave a pishy khaki review, but still give us 5 stars. I really don't mind.
As long as it's 5 stars, we're fine.
Yeah, like we said on the last episode, we don't actually think you can legally go below 5 stars on 365 Flicks anymore.
Nope.
Because iTunes made it that way. I don't know why, but they did. You can also find us on any third-party app, which you might have on your HTC phone,
never that
phone, your BlackBerry, if you're still rocking a BlackBerry. Who rocks a BlackBerry?
Aren't they all dead now, the BlackBerry people?
I think they are.
Not the actual owners, but the
people
company.
that used BlackBerries.
No, that's not Samsung.
Okay.
No, the company itself is dead, isn't it? I think they're done.
Well, that's fine then. You can't.
Anyway,
you won't find us on your BlackBerry. We're also on the Stitchers. If you listen to us on Stitchers, I feel so sorry for you, but please keep listening. You can find us on many awesome networks. We are on the Wicked Radio Network. We are on the Tangent Bound Network. We are on the We Be Geeks. We are on the Geeky Antics Network Global. You can find us on the Twitter. You can find us on the Facebook at 365 Flicks Pod. And guess what, Chris?
What's that, Kev?
There is one more place that you can find us.
You are joking.
It's back.
Is it true?
It's back from the grave. The lawsuits have been dropped. The restraining...
Say what?
The restraining order is no longer active. You can write whatever you want on the internet, and people will come. Nerdly is back.
Yay! I feel there's a yes chant deserved there.
I'm happy about this because it really bummed me out.
I'm happy as well, my friend. I am.
It bummed me out when Phil kind of emailed me saying that it was
because it was bollocks.
It was pure and utter bollocks. But now he's back. Our last episode got posted up on the website. However, we'd already recorded it, so we didn't have time to go back and, plus I cannot be bothered editing. So that's what happened. Nerdly's back. We're back on Nerdly. You can find us there. And we are also on our swanky Facebook page, 365flickpodcast.co.uk. Chris.
Yes.
How's your week been, my friend?
I've had an okay week.
I've been
okay. I've been very, very busy with work. So I'm having a well-deserved pint, or can, tonight, and recording a podcast with you, my fine friend. So I'm very well now.
That is what I wanted to hear.
How has your holiday been?
It was great. I mean, not without its dark moments.
Well, I don't know how you didn't go mental like Jack Nicholson in The Shining, to be honest. Man.
Seriously, how in this day and age can you go anywhere in this country, in this day and age, when half of Scotland, 3/4 of Scotland has Wi-Fi? You know what I mean? You can go to the top of the Cheviots and probably still be able to speak to your friend in Vietnam over Facebook chat. But me, I go down to the Lake District and I completely lose all civilization. Like, there was no phone signal, there was no Wi-Fi, there was no 3G, no 4G, there was nothing. I had to send carrier pigeons to you to let you know that we were recording tonight.
Is that why my garden's full of shite, you utter prick?
Carrier pigeons, brother. Carrier pigeons.
Well, I did shoot them all, to be fair, so I didn't get any of the messages, sorry.
That's fine. I also sent a message in a bottle. It will probably be coming onto Berwick Beach in the next couple of weeks. So, it'll be late, but you'll get it.
Be fine.
I mean, man.
Yeah, that must have driven you mental. I mean, I'm not as bad as you, but even I would be just going stir crazy with that shit. That's ridiculous.
It was crazy.
It's a popular holiday destination. How can they not have Wi-Fi, for fuck's sake?
Exactly. And you know what? You know what they said? You know what they did? They advertised.
What?
They advertised on one of the menus in the restaurant where we went to eat that it was free Wi-Fi and they had a very strong signal. Yes, they fucking do, but you cannot get into it. Can you get into it? It was there.
So what is that? Just like a massive cock tease?
I think so. They saw me and they thought, let's give this kid blue balls. And let me tell you what else they gave me. Let me tell you this. Now,
Go on, then.
You know me and food. Like, me and food, we get on. I love me a bit of food. I went into this same restaurant that claimed to have free Wi-Fi, that didn't have free Wi-Fi. Went in that sumbitch one night. I think it was like the second last night. We went into that big ass sumbitch. We sat down. It was clearly busy. It was very busy. They were having a bit of a time. You could see that people were complaining. People were getting the manager over and having a bit go. So, me being a kind, generous, caring person, I don't order me like a burger that needs to be made in 15 minutes. I'm like, I'm going to buy me a steak because I love me a steak. I'm going to buy me a steak because they take like 50 minutes because I like them well done. I like a plate of ash in front of me when I eat it.
Yep, same here.
So we sat there, we waited, half an hour, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, an hour before my steak came. I'm pretty damn hungry. Kids are hungry. Nothing else has turned up. Everybody's hungry. Everybody in the restaurant is complaining. My steak turns up. I was implicit with my instructions. Implicit. It has to be well done. It has to be burnt to a crisp. I don't want to see any pink. I don't want to see any blood because I will lose my shit. So I goes to the toilet because, I've been waiting for an hour. I need a pee. So I goes to the toilet and I comes back and there's my food sat there. I'm like, oh, glorious, glorious. I'm all happy and stuff. And Lindsay's already cut into the steak because she doesn't think that it looks cooked. And there is blood all over my fucking... It's all over my peas. It's all over my chips. It's all up in the sauce. It is everywhere. It was fucking gushing with blood. It was like a geyser of blood. And I was just like, I'm not eating that. You know me, buddy. I ain't eating that. So we called the guy over and I says to him, would you mind taking this away and, sorting me out with another one? And he kind of looked at me and I was like, because by the way, I will not eat anything on that plate. Don't just bring me the same plate back with like an overcooked steak. Don't do that shit to me because the blood's already touched the chips. It's already touched the sauce, the peas, the carrots. It's already touched everything. The plate is contaminated. So he stands there and he looks at me like I've got 3 heads. And he says, well, that'll be like another 20 minutes. 20 minutes? It's taken them an hour to cook the first one? 20 minutes? So... It's still
no. You know what's happened? The ticket is. You ever seen a Gordon Ramsay show? The ticket's been stuck to some arse, to some arsehole's bloody like list. You know, the queue thing, and he's just chucked it in the pan for 2 seconds, and you've got a fucking blue steak. Fuck that! I would be exactly the same as you. I am a complete awkward prick when it comes to my food.
So a dude said to me, he says, "Well, sir, I apologise. You know, doesn't put the steak in my belly, but I apologise. What can I do for you?" And I said, "I'll tell you what, give me a refund on my steak, and I'll just leave. And I'll just go. And I'll not make a scene, I'll just leave. I'll go." And that's exactly what I did. Lindsay and the girls stayed, finished their dinner, you know, because they got their dinner, exactly what they ordered. And Lindsay complained, and the guy was pretty sound. She complained to the manager, you know, and the manager was all like, "Oh, if you tell your husband to go to the chippy around the corner, tell Kim that Matthew sent him, he'll get whatever he wants off the menu." Now, that's a solid. Like, well done to that man for doing that. But I really fucking wanted a steak, and we were out for a family dinner. Mm-hmm. So
were you sat there with an empty plate while they were tucking in?
No, I sat there for like 5 minutes when they got their dinner, and then I just thought, nah, fuck this, I'm going. So I went through the other bit, and I got a drink and just had a beer, and then later on I went and got some fish and chips from the chippy.
Yeah, that's shit. That sucks.
That was pretty much the low point of my whole week. But I digress. Because this is a film, TV, it's a movie, it's a game, it's comic books, it's a podcast. You don't want to hear about my boring ass life.
Let's crack on then.
So this is a very different episode, as we said. So we're not going to be giving you all the normal goodness that the three... Well, we're giving you a lot more normal goodness than we usually give you. But we're not going to be doing the news section, as you will spot. We're not really going to be doing our famous What Have You Been Watching as such. You will be mentioning a movie that you watched later on, but it's relevant to the show, this episode.
Aha.
We have a wicked-ass episode, a wicked-ass interview coming up for you. We also have an awesome war movies top 5. But we would be remiss in our geeky kind of way if we didn't talk about what happened last Monday night.
Mm-hmm. And... yeah, so The Walking Dead started.
The Walking Dead did start. Unfortunately, we haven't got things together to bring you the talking heads that we did last year on part 2 because Blab died on its arse and we haven't figured out...
Well, yeah.
We've not figured out
These
another way
happen.
to do it yet. These things do happen. It may come back, we don't know yet, but also Another Damn Wrestling Show, we've taken that over, so there's only so many podcasts we can put out a week.
Well, that's it. You know, we're going to get sick of the sound of our own voices, to be fair.
Yes, so we will very much bring you updates of The Walking Dead on the normal show, and like I say, shit man, that premiere. So,
what was your gut reaction then to it?
My gut reaction was that we got flammed. I watched the episode. I was loving the episode. I loved how they kind of started off with the eeny, meeny, miny, mo. It's not necessarily where I wanted it to start, but then the way it went by not showing you who was killed straight away, I loved that. I was like, they're just going to tease you through the episode. I love the way they told that story, sort of with Negan taking Rick away and getting it in flash. I loved all that. Great storytelling. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, shit.
I know, right? Jesus Christ.
What the ever loving hell is that man doing in this show? He is so fucking talented. I mean, the acting on this guy, he is the perfect Negan. He's perfect. In every way for me. I have read a few little things on like Twitter and Facebook and people doing reviews, and they're saying that he is good, but he's not Negan that we know or whatever.
Oh, fuck off and go and get some air.
Exactly. This dude is just phenomenal. We said it at the end of last season in the season finale. Rick Grimes, Andrew Lincoln, shit. You know...
And throughout this episode as well.
Throughout this episode,
you know,
he was insane.
There was a moment later on in the episode. I think it's okay to give spoilers now because it's almost a week.
That's kind of why
later on in the episode, when Negan had drawn the line on Carl's hand,
how tense was
Andrew Lincoln in that scene, man.
How tense was that moment, though? Like,
oh my god, that was amazing.
Not knowing if Rick was going to do it. I mean, in my heart of hearts, I'm thinking he ain't going to do it, but I don't know. There was a split second where I thought if he doesn't do this, he's dead. He's a goner. Yeah. So he has to do it.
So I want to know what you mean by flammed.
The whole thing, like the 2 deaths. Okay, it was leaked a couple of weeks back by Gimple and Kirkman doing interviews, as they always do, and saying, "Oh, you're going to be shocked by the deaths." So we knew that we were going to get more than one death. I thought Abraham was a cop-out. It was too easy to go for Abraham. Like, why kill Abraham at this point? It was far too easy. They built him up last series to die with the whole Sasha thing. That's kind of where they were going. If you're going to kill Abraham, why not just show him dying at the end of last series, and then at the start of this series, that's when he does Glenn? Like, why not do it that way? It just felt like you've taken the easy option here. For me personally.
Well, wasn't that because Kirkman had said that he wished he hadn't killed off Abraham like that in the comics? You know how Zoe got the arrow through the eye? That was supposed to be Abraham, wasn't it?
Aye. But I think
so he wished that he hadn't done that to Abraham then, so maybe he wished that he'd saved it for...
I think the main reason he said that, though, was that they killed their only army guy. Like, he was their sort of army, sort of soldier group member.
Right.
But then he's totally backtracked on that and killed him at the start of this series. Which, do not get me wrong, the death was fucking brilliant. And when he stood back, when he kind of kneels back up and he says, "Suck my nuts," Jesus, Abraham, like, what a way to go. Like, Abraham took it like a champ, as Negan says. And then obviously we kind of cut away. We think that's sort of it, and then Daryl decides he's gonna slap someone. He's gonna punch Negan.
Yeah,
didn't see that coming.
I didn't see it coming, but I suppose that's fair enough. That's kind of thing that Daryl would do. So I'm not got anything wrong with that, really, particularly.
When you look at the group, there was nobody else who could have acted out that way. Like, Rick's in the middle of fucking breakdown. Eugene's not going to punch anyone.
No.
Our good pal Ross Marquand was just kind of watching at the sides. Like, Daryl had to be the one that lashed out. He had to be. But then again, it was like, okay, so then he kills Glenn, and it's like, right, so you're going to do something different from the books, but then you're just going to do the books.
Well, what's wrong with that?
Don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining about this. The Abraham thing I'm complaining about, because it just seemed too obvious, like taking the easy way out. For me, I still wanted Maggie. Like,
oh, man.
Up until the last minute, I still wanted Maggie. And then it's like, if you kill Maggie and Glenn, what's the point in killing either of them if you're going to kill both of them? There's no repercussion there.
This isn't a show that's got the balls of Game of Thrones. They're not going to kill a pregnant woman on network TV. It ain't going to happen.
I don't know, like, it looks like she's dying anyway.
Maggie's not dying.
I kind of get the feeling she might.
I don't see what your beef with Maggie is, to be honest.
I
like Maggie.
I don't have beef with Maggie, but...
You do? You want a fucking baseball bat in her head?
We said it on the episode when we spoke to David from The Asylum, the guy that does the Sharknado movies, and he also does the Z Nation TV show, David Michael Latt. Go back and listen to that episode. I believe it was episode 51. And we were saying that in Z Nation, that is a step that they would take. Like, killing a pregnant woman is a step that they would take. And I've always said, well, for the last couple of seasons, they just refuse to take that step they need to take on The Walking Dead. They refuse to push that boundary that little bit further.
I don't think they need to kill a pregnant woman to be shocking. But I mean, if you consider for a second the scene where Christ, what was his name? Everyone hates Chris.
Yeah,
him
pulling his face off.
And the Burley, the door thing. When he died in that scene, that was shocking as hell.
Of course it was.
So they've got it in them to be shocking. They don't have to kill off Maggie to be shocking or kill off a pregnant woman to be shocking. I think that Maggie's still, from what I gather in the comics, I don't read the comics, I don't know, but from what I gather, she's got some important stuff to do.
Yeah,
her character has got some important stuff to do, following on from the death of Glenn.
She has got stuff
to do.
So,
give Maggie a break. Don't be pissy that Negan didn't put a baseball bat through her head.
I'll give her a break. I'll keep watching it. Obviously, I'm going to keep watching that. But to be fair, again, I think I said it on the Jock and Nerd community site, community page on Facebook, that the moment the credits started coming up and I saw directed by Greg Nicotero, I knew that we were in for an absolute treat. The man's an absolute master when it comes to The Walking Dead.
Yeah, they give the episodes to him when they want something special, really, don't they?
If they want it done and they want it done right, they get Greg Nicotero.
Yeah.
So
no, I mean, I loved the episode.
Oh, the episode
I really
was
did.
Fantastic.
It was a great season opener. I think, you know, we were really surprised when we were doing the Walking Heads with Hayes, Talking Heads, Bygones. We were expecting that shitty episode the whole way through. We never got it.
No, we didn't.
And then the last episode came on, and then it was weird because I really enjoyed the last episode until the final, 10 seconds where they just completely copped out, and it just, that for me soured the whole series.
Yeah, it did.
And even up to, when I pressed play on the Sky controller on Monday night, I was sat thinking, oh,
yep,
I can't be bothered to watch this.
I was in the same boat. Like, I thought the last series they did really good work. There was some great episodes in there. They did some great character development. Then you got to that last episode. I liked the last episode, and then he swung the bat and it cut to black, and I fucking lost my shit. And it was like, right, okay, this is what we've been waiting for. This was the moment, because for me, the cliffhanger, and I like a cliffhanger. Give me cliffhangers all day long. But that isn't the cliffhanger. The cliffhanger is like, what happens next? What does Rick do next? So,
but they could easily have killed off Abraham.
Yeah.
Pan the camera to Rick, cut to black then.
Yes.
And then it comes back at the start of this season, and then kill off Glenn.
That would have been awesome.
Easily.
That would have been awesome.
Easily. It
would have made the whole RV stuff, when Rick gets pulled into the RV, it would have made that, although that was already tense as fuck and already great, it would have made it that little bit more greater because he's already seen Abraham take the bat.
Yeah.
So, like, we've seen it, he's seen it, we know he's seen it, so it's like, come on, let's just crack on now.
It is what it is. That's what we got, whether we we're not writers.
No, we're
for
not.
The Walking Dead. Same as we're not writers for the WWE when we're doing ADWS, another damn wrestling show. We're not the people who are writing these things, so it's easy for us to, go click, 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 and make up our own minds. But then we're fans and we're subscribers to Sky and in America HBO and whatever. So fuck you, we can say what we want.
Yeah.
Aye.
So
what are your thoughts for the rest of the season then?
I'm looking forward to it. One thing this episode did do was it put a lot of hope in me. However, I am sort of struggling with the concept of what Negan does now. Like, I've read some of the books and some of, like, going forward, but I am sort of struggling with how Negan right now is sinister as shit, but that's because we haven't had a massive dose of him. We got more of him in the season opener, but what happens when we get too much Negan and then he just becomes another cast character?
Right.
Like, the reason I love Jeffrey Dean Morgan right now is because he's just this force, this thing to be reckoned with. Now, if I see him every episode, all of a sudden he becomes Rick Grimes. He's in every episode. He's a Rick cast regular, which he is because his name's in the opening credits. So he's a cast regular now. So I'm worried about that. But we also have the stuff with the Kingdom coming up. We have Ezekiel coming up.
That's what I'm worried about, Kev.
I know that's what you're worried about.
Because that...
You don't want to see that tiger, do you?
I don't want to see it. I'm dreading seeing that tiger. I'm King Ezekiel or whatever. That is what I'm not worried about Negan. You know, I know as soon as that comes on the screen, I'm just gonna want to crawl. You know, it's just gonna make me crawl, and it doesn't look great. From the trailers, it might look fine. It probably won't. But that's what I think that's where it's going to maybe lose me, and then it's going to have to really work hard to get me back again.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, and that's been a problem you've had from the start. It is.
As soon as I saw the first trailer for Season 7 and the tiger came out, I was very much in the, fuck that, I am not watching a CGI tiger.
Yeah.
We'll see. I ain't gonna discount it because we don't do that on this show. But
like you say, we did the Talking Heads last year because we thought there was going to be a lot of contention, there was going to be a lot of bad kind of vibes about the show, and we were surprised every single episode. Mm-hmm. And you know what?
Definitely. I don't think it's going to be bad particularly.
No.
But what I'm worried about is that if it's going to be heavily CGI, I'm going to be taken out of the show by a shitty CGI tiger.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
That's what I'm worried about.
I know what you're saying, buddy. I totally get you.
But we'll see. We'll see what happens with it.
What did you think of the little sort of Easter egg at the end of the episode? Which
one do you mean? Which
I absolutely loved. The guy taking the photos of the smashed-in heads.
Oh, yeah. I did notice that.
That was great,
I don't normally notice Easter eggs, as you know. I'm normally shit with that kind of thing. But I did like that. I did notice that.
They did well with that one, didn't they?
Yeah.
And let's, for a second, we've talked about his death. We talked about Abraham's death. We talked about Glenn's death. The makeup on Glenn was un-fucking believable. That's the best makeup
I was glad that this is a gory show.
Yeah.
But I was glad I wasn't eating anything.
Oh, definitely.
On that scene.
I was literally going on holiday that morning, so I knew I had to watch that episode before we went, because I was like, I ain't going on holiday and then I go on... Well, it wouldn't have mattered because I couldn't get on Facebook anyway.
Well, that's true, yeah.
But I ain't having spoilers before I go on holiday or when I'm on holiday, so I watched that at like 6 in the morning. I recorded the 2 o'clock play on the Sky... on whatever Sky channel it's on.
Fox.
AMC? Fox.
Fox.
They did a simulcast at like 2 in the morning. And I thought, well, I've got about a 3.5 hour drive, so I ain't watching it at 2.5 in the morning. So I recorded that and I watched it first thing that morning, and I'm glad I did, because I was pretty like sat there at like 6 o'clock in the morning seeing some guy's eyeball popped out of his head, thinking,
yeah, it wasn't pretty. It was damn good.
The makeup was insane.
I said to you after I watched it, you probably didn't get it because you had no Wi-Fi or 4G or whatever, but the makeup department needs to be winning some kind of award.
Definitely.
For that. That was great.
I fully agree with that. They need to be recognised on that one. I mean, Abraham getting his head bashed in was bad enough, but Glenn's face when Negan's gone, look at you, boy, your eye done popped out or something like that. It was just like, oh my god, you bastard. but I was totally invested by that point. I do feel the whole... Like you said before, and like I said earlier, I don't see why they didn't just show us Abraham being killed last season, and then Glenn could be the surprise death of the first episode coming back.
Yeah.
So when
you know, it's like anything. I mean, how many times have we spoken about Star Wars, the prequels? How many times have we spoken about Game of Thrones? You know, you could sit and pick these things apart and say, wouldn't it have been better if? You know, but that's what we got.
I mean, the irony to that is that when we watched The Force Awakens, we came away saying they really didn't have to show us Luke. You know, when we watched The Dark Knight Rises, we said, why the hell did we have to see Bruce Wayne at the end? Yes. With The Walking Dead, we wanted to see who got clubbed.
Yeah, that's very true.
We're a fickle bunch of fucks. But yeah, Walking Dead going forward. Cannot wait to see episode 2. Really looking forward to seeing what happens. We will probably be watching Hell in a Cell live. If anybody fucking live tweets that, they're coming off the Twitter. Just completely. Done.
Yeah, definitely.
And we'll bring you more on Walking Dead. I just don't think the show's going to be up and running anytime soon. Because we've got too much to do.
Well, that's it. But what are we going to do on? Blab's dead. So
Blab is dead. Like a good one. Which, to be fair, you called that about 2 years ago.
Yep. Bad.
Like we say, we have a fantastic interview for you coming up, and it is not to be missed.
Hey there, kids. Do you want to hear a show where a bunch of guys sit around in a comic book store and talk about comics and lifestyle choices, other goofy things and shenanigans they get up to? Then
when have we ever talked about comics? Usually it's people sitting on my lap and riding the struggle bus.
That's true. It's mostly shenanigans. But occasionally we talk about comics. And if you like any of those things, comics, shenanigans, Devin's Lap, then you need to check out Snake Oil Comics with me, Travis, and my beautiful co-host, Big Dev.
Find us on iTunes, Stitcher, and snakeoilcomics.com.
So, we've got another awesome, special, awesome, shiny, awesome episode.
You happy with this one?
I am, because this one took a while to organise, because they're in the middle of filming a movie, so they're unbelievably busy.
You have been chasing this up for some time. I have been, yeah. Maybe it just sort of came about, because the guy I've been speaking to, Alex, over email, who's, very helpful, very friendly and all that, chatting away great. But maybe it just got to the point where it was like, oh, for fuck's sake, let's just get it done. let's get these two out of our hair.
But no, I mean, thank you to Alex for sorting that out. We had a great interview with these guys on Sunday. Was it last Sunday?
Yes, last Sunday.
Yes,
I was hoping to get it up and out, but I just didn't have time. I did not have time.
Well, you were going on your holiday with a shit restaurant, so
yeah,
we'll let you off with that one. That's fine. But I was looking forward to doing this interview. I like me a war movie. You do love you a war movie. I do. I mean, who doesn't? And I like me a bit of history, documentaries and all that kind of thing. Yep. So when I read an article about this movie on a Facebook page called War History Online, I was all about that shit. I could not wait to see it. Started speaking to Alex about the movie, and then we got the ball rolling. And last Sunday we spoke to director Lance Neilsen. Lance Neilsen, yes. Yep. And we were speaking about his upcoming movie, hopefully within the next maybe 6 months to a year, because they're filming it right now, Pegasus Bridge. Yeah. But it wasn't just Lance, was it, Kev? No, we were expecting to speak to Lance, and I believe it was a lady called Gillian, who is a producer on the movie. Yeah. And at first I think there was like 5 people, and then it got whittled down to 2 people, which I was glad of, because I didn't need that headache over Skype. I really didn't. But we ended up with Lance, the director, which we could not be any more grateful for. He was just... Some of the things he was telling us, I mean, this man goes into some like intricacies of like the difficulties of making an indie movie in Brexit. Like I didn't think we were going to go there. We ended up there. He went into some really, really interesting stuff, which is why I think we're both happy with this. But he did surprise us with one of his main... I think it's his main actor. He's playing the lead role? It's not the main actor, but it's one of them, because it's kind of it's an ensemble movie. Yes. So there's not a main actor, not really. So it's one of the main actors. And he's playing Corporal Bailey, is that right? Corporal Bailey, that's right, yeah, and he is one of the most important characters in the story of the movie. He's actually on the poster that is on the IMDb. He's front and centre on the poster, that's right. Center. And his name is Mike Beckingham. He's sort of a new up-and-coming. He's got a couple of films under his belt. Redwood, which is also coming out next year. Or is it this? Wait a second, let me just double-check my facts on that one, because we don't want to get this wrong.
He is in a movie called Redwood, which is coming out next year. He's currently filming it. Look out for this guy, Brit actor. He looks like he's going to be the balls. We got a little sneak peek of the movie, and I think this is going to be great. I can't wait.
I think absolutely, and both of them were amazing to speak to.
Oh, they were like, because we keep saying every time we do one of these interviews. I mean, let's pull back the curtain for a second about us. Every time we do one of these interviews, we are wondering when the bad one's coming. You know, like you expect that you might get one, and maybe it's just the type of people we are. Maybe it's just the type of people we're coming across. But everybody's been sterling so far, and these guys were absolute gents. And even Mike giving up his time, because he very much seemed like a hell of a busy guy right now. So giving up his time to speak to us too was brilliant, and it's always nice.
Definitely,
it's nice to get the English out there. It's nice to speak to English in indie, and it's great. So yeah,
or British even.
Or British. Yeah, you're all about the British.
Well, yes, I am.
Look,
not the English.
You guys are going for your independence. Soon you will not be allowed to call yourself British.
Don't start that shit, alright? So, Pegasus Bridge.
If Jimmy Cranky gets away.
Fuck her. Anyway, Pegasus Bridge. So we got to sit down over the Skypes last Sunday. We got to speak to these guys, Lance Neilsen, Mike Beckingham, and it was fucking brilliant. So I think that we should play the interview right now. We should stop rambling on about it and let people know what we're going on about.
So you're on with me and Mike Beckingham, who plays Corporal Bailey. He's just done another feature film. By the time Pegasus comes out, he probably would have done about another 5, I would think, the rate he's going. So you're actually quite lucky to get him, because he'll be charging for these kind of things soon.
Wow.
No, I don't know, but it's Nicola Gregory, one of the producers, was going to do this originally, but she's got a throat infection today, so she sounds like a muppet. So Mike kindly volunteered to step in, so it's probably more interesting for you anyway to have one of the actors.
Perfect, and we've got a few questions to ask you, and just talk about the project basically. Do
you want me to start off with an introduction? I'll say who I am, Mike can say who he is, and then you can go with the questions.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
That would, but if you want to give us a little introduction, that'd be even better for us, because less work for us, I suppose.
Okay, cool. Okay, so my name's Lance Neilsen. Long name, I know. I'm the writer and director of the Pegasus Bridge feature film, and with me is one of the actors today.
Yeah, hello. My name's Mike Beckingham. I'm going to be playing Corporal Jack Bailey in the film Pegasus Bridge, which I'm very excited about.
Nice to meet you all. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much for having us on.
Yeah, it's absolutely our pleasure, and thanks for taking time out. I know that looking at the vlogs and what have you, we know you're unbelievably busy getting the movie made. So this is great.
Trust me, you have absolutely no idea how complicated a film this is to pull off for the money we're trying to make it for.
Yeah,
it's a mission. It's a mission unto itself, believe me.
So how's the movie coming along then?
Yeah, good. We've had quite a lot of good news this week. Some stuff I can talk about and some stuff I can't. The main thing is that we're really close to locking the location where we're actually going to build the bridge set, and that was quite a big bone of contention for a long time.
I read about that because you wanted the original bridge is in a museum in France. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. And actually, Mike and I have been there a couple of times. In fact, Mike's in the middle of the poster that you might have seen for the film. He's the main guy charging over the bridge, because Bailey was one of the first over the bridge.
Right.
And we shot that picture on the real Pegasus Bridge in the museum, and they have given us permission to film there, and we will do if we need to go back and do any pickups. I mean, they even offered to let us build the set in the grounds of the museum, but it's just completely impractical because it just wouldn't work, not with all the special effects in the world. It just wouldn't look right, the water and everything else. And there's also memorials all over the place, and we didn't want to have to move anything. So, so we've got to build it from scratch, basically.
So, Chris has been really involved with all this. He's been really kind of researching it and everything. He's been giving me all the little stories. But for someone who doesn't know, and I'm not fully in on the story of what this movie is, he's kind of gave me the bits and pieces. Can you just give us the general premise of what it is?
Mike, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, sure. I mean, from my involvement in the project, which has been from not necessarily from day one, but I have been lucky enough to see the kind of hard work and the work that's gone on behind the scenes. And this leads into the sort of your question is that the premise of the film is basically the battle that happened at Pegasus Bridge on obviously the 6th of June 1944, and but it's told. What Lance is doing is fantastic in so much as he's making sure that it's through a microscope and it is focused purely and factually, historically accurate on that element of things. And so there's been a lot of other war movies that have touched on this particular battle, and obviously then the rest of the film has gone on.
The Longest Day. There's been one, I think, that's touched.
I think is that right? The Longest Day. And
there's been lots of movies about D-Day, but there's only been one that's covered anything to do with Pegasus Bridge, I think.
Yeah, so this is kind of going to be the first film that has covered that battle at Pegasus Bridge in detail. Yeah.
So the movie is following these guys right from their initial briefing right up until they actually took the bridge. Is that right?
Yeah, the opening scene is actually Major Howard getting his first briefing into his mission, and that I think occurred on or around the 2nd of May 1944. So the timeline for the film is actually 2nd of May until the end of 6th of June.
Right.
But it's very important to say this, but the film doesn't just cover the Ox and Bucks, and whenever we post a picture up of a para on our social media, some person always goes and puts a comment, well, they weren't paras, they were the Ox and Bucks. We know this, but the paras who arrived an hour later, they were the people that ran over the bridge and occupied the village of Benneville, which is literally 200 yards away, and they saw the most fierce elements of the fighting. So they lost 68 guys in the first 24 hours, killed. God knows how many wounded. Yeah. Only 2 people were killed at the bridge. One of them drowned, and the other one was shot running over during the assault. We cover 7th Para Battalion as well, and all their actions in the village too. And there's quite a lot of dramatic stuff that happens there. Guys charging tanks with Bren guns and all sorts of heroic things that went on. So it covers all of that fighting in the first 24 hours in those 2 areas mainly, so the bridge and nearby, and then it also covers the French and German perspectives as well. So you get the German POV of what they're trying to do to combat the battle to some extent, and the French civilians and resistance people that were in the area too.
Yeah.
So it's quite old school in its structure, very similar to films like A Bridge Too Far, where you get a plethora of different characters and different perspectives. But Major Howard is very much the leading role. Major Howard and Colonel Geoffrey Pinecoffin, who commanded 7th Para, they're the 2 sort of British leading guys.
Actually, one of the things was I first came across this movie, Lance, when I was reading an interview that you'd done with War History Online.
Right, yeah, great guys.
You could tell when I was reading the article, you could tell they were passionate as hell about you making this movie.
I think that article got shared like 75,000 times,
right.
And that was the last time I looked. And our likes on Facebook rocketed.
They would do.
Overnight. And actually, anybody that's reading this who hasn't liked our page, please go and do that.
Definitely go and do that.
If you'd like to be really great and supportive. Yeah, if you want to be really supportive, then actually put on your own timeline, hi guys, please to all my friends, please support this page, please hit the like button. Because you know what, I know it's quite a hard concept for people of my generation to get around who are sort of not the young kids, but social media is actually really important. Producers, financiers, all these kinds of people, they really look at this stuff. And to them, if they see a film that's got 25,000 likes, they know that that's automatically 5,000 Blu-ray and DVD sales minimum.
Yeah.
So, you know, they do take these things really seriously. It's quite hard sometimes for the older generation to get their head around what that really means in tangible terms. But in film, it's really changing a lot, and social media is becoming king. So we would be foolish to ignore that, you know.
Definitely, absolutely, and yeah, of course we're more than happy to do that. Absolutely. So it's great to see a war movie being made about British soldiers rather than American soldiers running about saving the day. So, with that respect, what pressures are on you when you're directing the movie, and also Mike as well, an actor appearing in this movie? What pressures are you making the movie?
Mike, do you want to go first on that one?
Yeah, sure. I mean, from an actor standpoint, it's when you're portraying a real person. First and foremost, obviously we've been kind of doing work behind the scenes now for probably best part of over a year or year and a half, and so the research element is vital from an actor's perspective because, as you say, the pressures are that obviously you want to do these heroes justice. You know, you need to ensure that we're telling the story accurately because you really don't need to elaborate anything on what these soldiers did because what they actually did was heroic, and it's just about making sure that we get that right. We make sure that we're hitting marks like the camaraderie between the soldiers because even though it was you're in a world war as such, these guys were still young men. You know, this is what is amazing about this is that they were like 18 to 24, 25 years old. So we want to be sure that we kind of capture that sort of innocence and the whole fact that they are still so young, and the way that they coped with things was to have a bit of banter between each other, have a bit of a laugh with each other. We want to bring that through in so much as because that is actually what really did happen, and it was the only way that they could sort of, like I say, I guess in a can't find a better way of saying it, but just stay sane in those very, very difficult times. And so yeah, as an actor, you're aware that obviously also you're going to have the family or family members watching the movie, so we want to make sure again that we're doing their family members, their heroic family members justice. So from an actor standpoint, especially in this situation, there is an awful lot of pressure, but it's also a huge privilege to be asked to portray these guys on screen. It's quite wonderful.
Mike has quite a difficult job as well in one sense because Bailey, Corporal Bailey, doesn't have any living relatives. He never married and didn't have any kids, and there's no brothers or sisters or aunts or uncles or anyone. So a lot of the actors are going to be able to meet a family relative at some point, but Mike is one of the few that's a bit of an orphan in that sense. So he's going to have to do his interpretation entirely on his own, although he's got lots of feedback from people that did know the guy. Like Barry Parr's Wally Parr's son, Barry Parr, he met Jack Bailey a number of times, didn't he? So he's been quite helpful.
Yeah, he's been wonderful, so giving.
I'll tell you what, I've never been involved in a project with as much pressure as this because you want to do it right, but you've also got to do it within budget. I mean, I don't know what the budget for Dunkirk is, but I'll guarantee you it's probably close to 100 million, if not more. Now, we're making this film for less than a tenth of that budget if it's 100 million. So I can't go into exact figures, but it's less than 1/10 of that. So, and we've got 76 speaking parts in the film, 76, because we haven't amalgamated any characters. It's always the guy that fired that pier at that church tower or that boat is the guy, So there's no fictionalising of anything. I mean, some scenes and stuff have been amalgamated where the training and stuff is concerned, but in terms of the action, it's all as close to what happened as we can get it. And then we're also trying to get the right tanks and the right vehicles, and the Germans that fought in that area had certain things and didn't have other things, and they had really weird, a particular weird type of camo, and there's a lot of things about the battle which were quite unique. We've got a German gunboat that comes up the river at one point, and we're still trying to work out how we can build that onto a floating raft, which we then got to blow up. And so there's a lot of complicated stuff, some huge action sequences in it, which, again, as I said, for the budget that we're working with, what we're doing is going to be nothing short of incredulous when we pull it off, and we will. But it takes a very, very committed team to be able to do that. So, I mean, I'm not alone in my passion for the project. I've got a core production team of about 8 people that have been working on it for a year, and you know, most of them won't officially start getting paid until we go into prep, which is several months away yet. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, they're getting paid, but you know, they're getting paid a pittance now because the most of the money's not there yet. So they're not doing it for the money, you know.
That's incredible. That's amazing, isn't it?
It sounds like a really big passion project for the most part, then.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been into this subject. You know, I mean, I remember seeing The Longest Day at a really young age. I mean, I must have seen it when I was about 6 or 7, I think. And remember getting all the airfix soldiers out after I saw it and recreating the bunkers in my bedroom and doing all that, you know, with the DUKW models and all the kit being completely wrong and Tiger tanks driving around on the beach and this sort of thing. But that was what got me interested in the subject. And my grandfather bought me Brigadier Peter Young's colour book on D-Day for Christmas. I'll never forget getting that. And so that was like this book full of all stuff, and that's what got me really interested in it. And I think Pegasus element of The Longest Day got me interested in airborne operations of World War II. And then it wasn't until some years later that I found out about Market Garden, and then I became like a massive Market Garden guy. So, which I found that was a really fascinating battle. And that's kind of, I've got a natural interest in the subject from the get-go. So I was always going to do a World War II movie. I didn't know it was going to be this one until I went to Pegasus Bridge for the first time in 2011, and it was when I went there, I'd come out of the museum and I went, yeah, I'm going to do a movie about this, and that was it. That was when the decision was made. Yeah. So the decision was made in 2011 that I was going to do that film.
Well, that was going to be where I was going to go next, sort of. Like, there are a lot of World War II stories, and there's a few movies getting made, as Mike said before. But what was it at the core of this story, like the meat and bones of this story, that made you want to tell this in particular?
You kind of hit the nail on the head at the beginning that it was a British operation. Yeah. It was very unique in terms of what it achieved. I mean, you got to think of it that you're going to take 6 essentially wooden paper aeroplanes and fly them God knows how many hundreds of miles in the dark to land with fairly antiquated navigational equipment, nothing like you've got today, over enemy territory where there's batteries and searchlights and night fighters and God knows what else, and land them within, I think the first one landed within, it was Mike, that pillar's about 50 yards away, or not even that.
Oh, it's like you said, I think it's noted that it's probably some of the best flying that's ever happened in, I think it was World War II, I think, wasn't it, or something along those lines. It's just incredible, like how they manage. It blows your mind, just details like that. It's just incredible.
I mean, to some extent, they got very lucky, but in the Longest Day, I think the total amount of footage that covers Pegasus Bridge is about 15 minutes, and that's fine because The Longest Day is a very broad brushstrokes. This is D-Day in a nutshell film. It's not there to give you a detailed analogy of each individual battle. Yeah. But that's what we're going to be able to do. And I didn't realise, I didn't know anything about the fighting in Benneville next door. I didn't know about all that. And Mike's got quite a great character, actually, because he's playing one of the few actors who leaves the bridge and actually got sent into Benneville to deal with German snipers. So he gets to go and film in France, which is quite nice for him. Because we are actually filming at some of the real locations in France, not the bridge, but some of the stuff where the fighting took place in villages and things like this. We're going back there and dressing it up, and got great cooperation from all the local authority and so on. So I think, to go back to your question, the fact that it was a unique British operation, it hadn't really been told properly before, and I don't want to detract anything from Daryl Zanuck's The Longest Day, which is amazing, and the Pegasus Bridge scene is a really great scene, I think, directed by Lewis Gilbert, it might have been him or somebody else, it might not be Lewis Gilbert, I'd have to check, but it is a really good scene, but it's broad brushstrokes, and I wanted to really examine that battle in much more detail and show the other things that happened, because it wasn't just that they took the bridge. And somebody wrote that on our social media, how can you make a film about this when the battle was over in 2 minutes? And I thought, well, you clearly don't know your history very well, obviously, armchair general.
I think you find that with social media, though.
There's a lot of people that mean well, because mean they care about the subject. Don't get me wrong. So I understand it. We get it quite a lot, and we put up a post the other day about there's going to be a day where, because we get people inbox us all the time offering help for free on the film. Can I come down? I've got a uniform. I'd love to be an extra for a day. And I did say to production, I said, look, it would be stupid to pass up all these offers of help. There is a day when they can come down, and that's the day when we're doing what's called the emplaning sequence, where everyone's, getting ready to board the gliders and the Dakotas and all that stuff. And so we put a post up about that and said, look, if you do have a uniform and it's one of the following, and you'd like to get involved for a day, let us know, write to this email address, blah, blah, blah. And the response we had was unbelievable. I mean, it's literally hundreds. But, we had one guy come on and said, why don't you have a costume department? What sort of film is this? Of course we've got a costume department. We've got 200 actors there that day. 200. 76 principals and 120 extras. But I'd like 400, like Dunkirk would have. Yeah. I don't have the money for 400, but if I've got 100 guys offering to come down for the day for nothing more than a sandwich and a handshake, and they're going to turn up in British RAF kit and all the rest of it, because all the ground crew from the airfield, they all came out to wish the guys good luck. So there's this big scene where all the waffies and the nappies, all the girls and everything, they all come out, and actually Mike's got a little scene there where you're the only one that gets any romance in the film, Mike, aren't you?
I am, yeah. Don't mind that. That's fine.
You've got a wacky girl comes out and puts a flower in his lapel, which I thought was quite a sweet moment. We came up with that idea when we were doing a recce, actually. So, we've got to compete with things like Dunkirk. Once the film comes out, we can't just turn around and say, oh, well, sorry, we didn't have as much money. Yeah. That's no good, You've got to wow people and say, we didn't have much money, but look at what we did. And to get that wow factor up and to get those numbers and that production value and to make it look like that scene alone was £1 million. Yeah, if 100 people are willing to come down and help out and boost the numbers we already have, I'm well up for it.
Definitely. Definitely.
So you mentioned there, Lance, about the different, the different wanting to make it look like $1 million and that kind of thing. So
more than $1 million, but yeah, that scene.
Yeah. What can you tell us, like, say, for the action set pieces, for example? What can you tell us about the process of putting together a set piece, like take the action scenes at the bridge, for example? What is the process of putting together a set piece like that?
Okay, well, we've got 3 what you would call action sets. One is the bridge, and we have to shoot that from its capture to its relief in order, because obviously parts of it get damaged as the battle goes on. So that determined the schedule for that. Then we have the fighting in Benneville with 7th Para Battalion, and I was really keen that the French village should look French. You get a lot of films, I don't know if you've seen the Saints and Soldiers movies, they're these low-budget American World War II films. Really well-made films, I have to say. That, you know, you can tell that they're made with a lot of care and effort. But they are shot in Utah, and they do, whenever they've got a building, it never looks like a European building. It looks like a ruin or a farm in Utah. And those little things, those architectural things, I always think are really important. So we knew from day one we were going to go and do some filming in France. So we found a village in Normandy, not the one where the fighting actually took place, but almost looks exactly the same. And it's completely untouched by time. It's had hardly any new buildings put in it. All the buildings have retained their original features. All we've got to hide is lampposts and things like that. So we storyboard the sequence for that. And then that matches up. That's the southern part of Benneville. And then that matches up with the northern part of Benneville, which is Pinecoffin's HQ set, which is being built in the UK on a farm. And actually the farmer's been really helpful, and he's just going to let us completely redress all the buildings that he's got there, one of which looks fairly French already. So our production designer will combine the look of that farm set to match the look of the other part of the village, which is being filmed elsewhere in France. And then you've got different units that fight in those different parts. So there's a lot of titles on screen coming up, you know, kind of Northern Benneville 7 a.m. and this sort of thing, so you can keep tabs of who's where. It's to plan those kind of action sequences. It's huge. I mean, it's lots of storyboarding, lots of meetings. We've got a stunt coordinator, a guy called Steen Young, who shares my Danish surname. Really, really lovely guy. Came on board the project very early. Again, you know, gave up an awful lot of time for next to nothing to attend a lot of meetings very early on, and he's been fantastic. And then he's going to have a stunt team working under him, so he would choreograph all the stunts with his team that would be in the foreground. Then behind them you would have a background unit of about, say, 20 Germans, for example, and then you'd have your principal British guys, and then behind them you'd have another background unit of like another 10 or 20 paratroopers. So just in that one sort of sequence alone, you're probably looking at between 40 to 50 people, including 2 background units, a stunt team, and your principals. And I, if the scene is really complicated, I'd probably have a second unit director with me I'd work with the principal actors predominantly, and then he would coordinate the background. And again, you'd have meetings to discuss all this beforehand. You wouldn't turn up on the day not knowing what you're doing. So, you know what they say in the army, proper planning prevents piss poor performance. That is a golden rule of filmmaking, as is the second thing they say in the army, which is no plan survives contact with the enemy. So no matter how much you plan, when you get on set on the day, there is always something which is different, but you just have to roll with that. So sure. Does that give you some idea?
Definitely.
It does, yeah. From Mike's side of things, like, obviously you have these big set pieces, and you're on these big sets with all these extras and stuff like that.
Yeah.
As an actor, how is that for you? Is there any moment during the filming that has really stuck out for you during this time?
Yeah, I mean, again, just touching on what Lance just said there, I think also what I think Lance has got so right with this project is that I think you can see how interactive the Pegasus Bridge Facebook page is as well, because people are fascinated with how a film or films are made, and it is fascinating. It's absolutely incredible what work goes into it. So I think it's great that we've been able to sort of do video diaries, etc., to keep people up to speed as to how we're doing things. But going back to your question, absolutely, we did. We actually did a couple of days kind of test shooting on a farm in a UK location. And on the first day, it was just myself and another member of the principal cast, and some other guys. But it was a small kind of cast and crew on the Saturday, and then we woke up crack of dawn on the Sunday. It must have been about 5 a.m, 5:30, and we all left the hotel and we were driving through these country lanes, and there was a beautiful sunrise happening, and we got to location. And we managed to capture some of that sunrise, which was great. But the moment that you realise that you're in a big movie was when all of the sort of other cast and crew turn up. You know, the reenactors, as it is, turn up, and there must have been, oh my goodness, there must have been like a good 30 to 40 reenactors with tanks and with jeeps, and I remember just I was doing a bit of shooting in a field, hadn't seen them all turn up. I'd just seen one of the vehicles, and I came around the corner and there were this array of reenactors all in fantastic uniform, and I just looked and I saw this tank roll up, and there's and I was just I looked around. I remember looking around just thinking, wow, I mean, this is going to be incredible, because Lance has gone, he's gone big. He's wanting to make sure that every little detail is correct. Even on this 2-day test shoot, he's coordinating, 30, 40, 50 people. And it was just wonderful to sort of just stand there and think, oh, I'm going to be a part of this. It was, that Sunday sort of early morning was the moment when I sort of, it dawned on me, even though we had done our recce to France. And again, there were many, many moments in France when, you sort of, I think it was with that Sunday, it was more like you say, it was more of a way of kind of me going, wow, okay, this is big. In France, it was more humbling. It was more of a case of, we were lucky. Lance was, very generous with us actors. He took us over again as a test shoot, and we were lucky enough to talk to a lot of the local people and meet a lot of people and go to a lot of the locations. And when you go to these locations and then you're not only there, but you're being told what actually happened there, you sort of think to yourself, wow, like, it makes it real. Absolutely, that's a great word. It makes it so real. But it was, and those were moments then in France where you're kind of like, okay, we need to make sure that we do this justice, because it is so important that we get it right.
Yeah, absolutely. It must be incredibly humbling as well.
I mean, there was a few moments in France that, I kind of felt myself welling up, because I kind of, and there was no exaggeration. You do, because you're there and you're feeling it as well as hearing it. It's kind of, it was extremely humbling.
When we went to the cemetery, and I mean, even just by the church where Mike's actually doing a scene, by the church, there's 10 or 12 graves in there, including the grave of one of the German snipers that was in the church, and then you've got 5 or 6 men that he kills. They're all buried there side by side, and these guys are all like, you're standing there and they're all like 18, 19, 21.
Yeah,
you get the odd,
exactly it. Yeah,
there's the odd guy that's like 33, 32 and whatever, but you're standing there and then you think back, what was I doing when I was 18 and 19? I was watching Arnold Schwarzenegger movies and working at a cinema. I mean, you just kind of think, you can't get your head around it.
No.
I can't also get my head around the youth of today, kind of, if they all suddenly got drafted and had to fight for England. I'm not quite sure how they would cope, although, some of them, having played Call of Duty all day, might do quite well. But, it is incredible. Actually, I remember what Mike was talking about when we were filming the promo trailer for Cannes, and he came running up to me all excited, like, good God, look at that tank. Aren't you excited? And I was like, yeah, I am really excited. I'm just pretending to be very cool. So it was a good sense of the project moving. I'll tell you what, guys, if you look on the chat on your Skype, I've just sent you a Vimeo link. Can you see that?
Oh, yeah. Aye.
How would you like to see the promo trailer right now that we shot for Cannes?
Definitely, absolutely.
And this was a promo trailer that we shot primarily for the finance guys. They wanted something to take to the investors, to give a clear indicator of what the film was about. We also were very clever with it. We made sure that almost every shot that we did can be used in the finished film. Not all of them, but most of them. And there's some very early effect shots on there of like a shadow of the glider going over the water and stuff. And then,
don't ruin it, Lance.
People no, okay, yeah. Let me say no more. If you want to have a look, this is an extreme privilege, guys, because almost no one outside the company has seen this.
Wow,
so
excellent.
just a few actor friends of mine. Certainly nobody else in the press. Yeah, make sure the sound's up.
Because D Company is being assigned to carry out one of the most important tasks on D-Day, I can't think of anyone who has a more vital objective. Your company will be capturing 2 bridges intact. You will land at night.
Wow.
The main threat to you is the 21st Panzer Division. They've taken a beating, but they're an elite unit, well armed, with self-propelled guns, tanks, and plenty of artillery. If they counterattack straight away, you can expect a lot of casualties.
That looks amazing.
You ever get that feeling?
Wow.
Guys, that looks absolutely fantastic.
You like that?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great.
Jeez.
As soon as I read that interview with that you did with War History Online, I was thinking, I'm watching that movie. There's no way in hell I'm not watching that movie. But after seeing that looks incredible.
Yeah, well, that's like I said, that was your eyes only special privilege.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that. That's unbelievable.
I've already changed the password. So you can see.
Oh, good thing I had the phone recording it. No, I'm only joking. I'm only joking.
That would not have got you a set visit further down the line. I'm sure we might be able to. I think we're going to do with the press that have been supporting us from day one, people like War History Online and stuff. I think we're going to do a range of press visit day. So I'll see if we can get you guys in on that. Nicola Gregory's the person you need to speak to. I think she's coordinating that kind of thing. Or either her or Alex, actually, because of course he's the social media producer. So be one or the other.
Yeah, excellent. That sounds great.
Well,
sounds great.
Chris has been badgering Alex from day one anyway. So.
Yeah. So thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for letting us see that. That really does look incredible.
Well, the narrator in that trailer, that actually is the actor Danny Webb, who's playing Windy Gale, Richard Gale. So he did the voiceover for that you heard, kind of like the briefing, you know. And we were hoping to get Jason Fleming in that trailer as well, but he wasn't available when we were shooting it. Yeah, but that gives you an idea, you know, and the kind of standard that we're aiming for as well. And that was done, we shot that over 2 days, although I also went with the DOP, guy called Alfie Biddle, who shot that trailer. I went with him to France and we got the shots of the bridge. And
what I did want to ask was, what is it you think, what do you guys think it is about the stories of the World War II that continues to attract people, that continues to keep people's attention?
My view on it is, you know, I don't want to get all political and stuff, but there's a lot of conflict in the world right now. You know, Syria and this and that, and the politics of it all is just all so messy. You know, there's not really ever good guys and bad guys anymore. It's all like shades of grey, and governments are always getting their hands dirty, and everything is just so messy. And maybe it was always that way, but the thing about World War II, to me, is that's the conflict where we really were fighting evil. You know, it was a bit easier to define. I mean, let's not forget that Poland, of course, who got invaded, which started World War II, at the end of the war, they got proper shafted. Their country still wasn't liberated, and they were under Russian rule for God knows how many years afterwards. So, I mean, it didn't end well for them. So, I mean, World War II itself isn't just like this good bad guy situation. It wasn't as clean cut as that. But we were fighting an embodiment of evil, really. I mean, Hitler was an absolute tyrannical madman. I'm not saying Stalin was any better, but, you know, we all know how that went with history. But the genocide of the Jews and all that kind of thing. And again, one must remember the Germans were not the first people to invent concentration camps. Sadly, unfortunately, that was us in the Boer. in South Africa. So, history does have a way of painting things depending on who you're looking at. But I think, despite all those complications, it is a war where you can look back and say we really were fighting a tyrannical evil, and it was easier to define. And I really felt like the guys who went over there and sacrificed their lives, and a lot of them didn't come back, and those that did come back, a lot of them were not the same. They really were fighting for something that they truly could believe in. When a guy goes out to Afghanistan now, he's really fighting for the man next to him. I'm not necessarily sure that they really understand the politics of that, or even necessarily believe in it. They just go.
Yeah.
And the way our guys get treated out there is, again, I don't want to get too political, but I've got to say it's utterly appalling.
Yeah, my brother-in-law was actually in Afghanistan, and he's told me a few stories, and it is. Yeah, it is.
Well, I mean, look at the shooting of the Red Caps. That time where they got left in charge of that police station, and they had less than 50 rounds a man, and the handover wasn't done properly. And this is all down to under-resourcing. The idiots like Tony Blair didn't follow through properly when they sent us all out there, and our young boys go out there and they die for these guys, and it's all about petrol and money and all this kind of thing. World War II, although it certainly had its murky areas, we weren't fighting Germany for their fuel and their world resources. I mean, it was a fight to the death. If we didn't defeat them, they were going to take the world into a really dark place. So, to me, that's why I think World War II is interesting. And I mean, there is no end of stories. There's no end of battles that there's never been a film made of. There's no end of little heroic stories. You look at things like the island of Corsica, and if you read about all the things that happened there's some fascinating stuff that happened there in World War II. It's just like a gold mine of stuff. Greece, all that stuff. So I could quite easily make movies about World War II for the rest of my life. I'm not going to. I'm going to do lots of other different types of films. I am going to do probably at least one more war film, I think. But Mike, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think from it was a defining point in British history, and I think that because it involved the whole country, the whole it was such a large scale. I think that it affected pretty much everyone. And I go back to the point that Lance just made. I think what certainly for me, since I've been researching the role of just Jack Bailey and reading these other, incredibly heroic stories that, have kind of gone not under the radar, but are just then you have to really sort of research to sort of find these little stories, and I think that's what intrigues people is that, yes, this war happened obviously, but the more they research and look into it and become eerily interested in it, the more their eyes open to all these other little things that went on, and it's just fascinating. It's incredible, and I can completely understand why people are very very interested in what happened.
Yeah, definitely.
It's the change in technology in terms of filmmaking means that you can represent historical events in a much more visceral and interesting way. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be some amazing visual scenes in Dunkirk, and I'm not a massive fan of mass CGI, by the way, but it has its place, and it can do tremendous things. It's certainly going to be helpful for us with the things like the Air Armada and that kind of thing. So there's a lot you can do with filmmaking now that you couldn't do in the 60s and 70s. And, people have come up with ways of building the right German tanks and all this sort of thing. It's not just an American M10 with a German cross stuck on the side like all those Italian films from the 70s, fun though some of them were. So filmmaking as a process has changed as well, and I think that allows the opportunity to tell stories in a different and much more exciting way than perhaps we were able to do in the past. Though then when you look to things like A Bridge Too Far, you have to take your hats off and say, God, they wouldn't shoot that film the same way now.
It's the 100th anniversary of The Somme this year, Lance. Is that a movie that you'd like to tell, or a story that you'd like to tell?
World War One, for me, I've watched probably every film going on it, but it doesn't hold the same fascination for me. I think because it's from a time that I can far less relate to. Yeah. I talked to my grandfather, my mum, my father was a runner for the Danish resistance. My mum remembered the Blitz very well. She remembered the V1s coming over. My grandfather was an air raid warden. My nan used to tell me all the stories about ration books and all that. So all of this was very much in my living room when I was growing up, if you know what I mean. World War One is just a bit more distant. So for me as a filmmaker, it's a little harder to relate to those stories. And to be honest, there's been so many good films made about World War One, and I'm sure there can be more. But I don't think I'm the right person to make that movie. I'm sure there's another guy out there who's his big thing. My big thing has always been airborne operations. I'm not a massive World War II nut. I don't know all about the sea battles and aviation and every little thing. I just was always very interested in airborne operations, and so that's my bag. Because if I do another World War II film, it's probably going to be about the invasion of Crete. So that's another one that we're looking at the minute.
Yeah, excellent.
To let you know. So, anyone listening wants to fund it, please get in touch.
So with that in mind, I'm conscious of time rolling on. You guys have already been so brilliant with us, and especially showing us that little promo, which was awesome. When can people out there who are listening, when's the movie going to be dropping?
Originally, the schedule was we should have had probably because there's a couple of sections that have been filmed separately from the main shoot, and originally all of the French stuff was all going to shoot this year. And I can tell you why it didn't. There's one word for that, and that is Brexit. The difference in and people say, why should that affect your filmmaking? Well, I'll tell you why. It's very simple. When I went to Rome in June and took my missus there for her birthday, for £500 we got €750, right? I went back to Europe after Brexit. For £500, I got €505.
Wow.
Jeez.
Right, so what does that tell you? Okay, now on our budget for the French part of Pegasus, I think the budget was 150 grand for the French section, or around 200,000. The difference in the pound to euro value meant that the budget was affected by 25 grand. Now, 25 grand for a studio, probably not a big deal. They can make a phone call and cover that. We can't do that. Our budget is what it is.
Yeah.
And, unless some, benefactor with bags of money just comes along and gives us a couple of extra million quid, we can't counter for things like that. So we actually had to wait. We had to wait for the financial market to restabilise. So that all got pushed to next year, and then also we were waiting on an availability of an actor, I can't say who, until the contract's signed. So that was quite important as well. So everything got pushed to 2017, which means that the premiere of the film, we're hoping for a June 6th premiere 2018, but there's 6 months of post-production, and that could always take longer. Yeah. So quite a lot of effect shots and things to be added. So, I'm hoping we'll make that, but difficult to say. And then, of course, I need to say on top of that, we don't distribute the film. We're just making the film. I've got a film I made 2 years ago in Greece called The Journey. You can see the trailer for it on YouTube. Just type The Journey Jason Fleming and you'll find it. That still hasn't been released yet because the sales agents actually want to sit on it because they think this film's going to be really massive, and I think they'd rather sell it combined with Pegasus off the back of this, which is all well and good, but not particularly great for all the people that worked on it.
Yeah.
2 years ago, and they're still wondering when it's going to come out. So, that's the thing. As a filmmaker, unfortunately, unless you do everything, you don't. Once your film's made, you don't really get any control over when it's released and where and how and who sees it and what's on the DVD. All these things are not up to you. You don't have any say on that stuff. You can suggest things, but that's it.
That must be really frustrating.
It is, and we've got kind of, as you probably know if you're following the Facebook page, we've got quite a sort of open window policy on this is what's happening with the movie, and that's a double-edged sword because you're probably getting some insight, just a fraction, into the difficulty and the problems you can experience when making an independent film of this complexity. Normally people don't get that insight. They just hear the film's being made and a couple of years later it comes out. There isn't normally the kind of same fly-on-the-wall access that you're getting with us. And we made a very conscious decision early on to do that. But like I said, I think it is a double-edged sword because it's great. It gets a lot of people very supportive. But at the same time, all the cockwombles come out and they're like, why are you doing this way? And, you don't... sometimes you just can't explain things to them. It's frustrating, but hey, that's part of filmmaking, so that's part of the course, really.
That is one of the things I like about your website. You've got like the vlogs and everything on there. Like you say, it is very kind of open sort of filmmaking from you guys. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, we knew people cared about the subject, so I think we just decided that was a good way to go from day one. And it has some positives and some negatives, but Yeah,
I think you're always going to get that, though, aren't you?
Well, it's just people on the internet, isn't it?
Chris is not a big fan of the internet, so.
Internet is if you're watching the latest series of South Park at the minute, it's all about internet trolls, and it's
I have been watching that.
It's very funny, but yeah. So they've got a lot of very interesting things to say about that.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying this series. So Mike, what are you up to after you've worked on Pegasus Bridge?
So we got. I've got again. It's a case that things can come up. In any. At any time. So, just at the moment, currently focusing on a project that I just shot out in Poland called Redwood, which is a horror genre film, and then we'll see what 2017 brings. But obviously, very excited to get started on Pegasus. I can't wait really.
One of the other things I wanted to ask Lance is obviously Jason Fleming's in this movie. Who is pretty much quintessentially like the go-to Brit in any movie, to be fair. How is it? I see that you've worked with him before in other movies. Is that like is that a friendship you've had for a while, or is it just because he's a brilliant actor and he's? Yeah,
I can actually honestly say that if it wasn't for his friendship, I would not be alive speaking to you right now.
Really?
And that's not that's not a boast. So he's been there for me in some pretty dark times. And actually, we met at a film screening that he did a little World War II movie called The Bunker. I don't know if you ever saw it, where he plays a journalist.
Yeah, I saw that.
We actually met at that film screening, and I told him I really wanted to write something for him, and I'd seen him in another film recently, and I really liked him, and he just sort of turned around and gave me his home telephone number. Probably regretted it ever since, but. And I just invited him to come and see my work and my plays and things, and then I wrote The Journey, which was actually written specifically for him. But as irony turned out, he wasn't able to do the lead role, which went to another actor called Duncan Powell, who's a fantastic actor. But Jason and I have worked together on about 3 things now, some of which haven't amounted to anything. But he's probably the most supportive British actor to independent film that has ever lived. I mean, he must have done more indie films and that have never been released, and stuff that he's probably taken a sandwich for a paycheck than anyone I can think of. And he still does it from time to time. He can't do it as much as he used to. He's got 2 kids now, so he has to kind of favour the big jobs, but he really is very, very supportive, and he's a lovely guy. And I find it quite frustrating as a filmmaker to see him. He's often given the supporting role normally, as you probably know.
Yeah.
and he's done an amazing range of work. But I wish people would give him the leading role more, because I mean he's an amazing actor. He's got such depth to him, and he's such a lovely guy. That's why he never stops working, because people just love having him on set. But I mean, beyond that, his talent is incredible. I put him up there against Tom Hardy or Henry Cavill, any of those young lads coming up now. You know, Jason's as good as any of them. I think that he just got pigeonholed a little bit into the supporting role, and you know, I mean, I'll always have a part for him in anything I'm doing, unless it's an all-girl production, in which case I'll have to wear a wig. But yeah, a really lovely guy, and we might be working on something else together after this. He's just directed a film as well called Eat Local. So if you want to support Jason's first directorial debut, he's just done a film called Eat Local. It's kind of a vampire, 12 Angry Men. I'm not sure when it's coming out. It's just premiered in Belgium at a film festival there. So, but it's going to be a lot of fun. I've read the script, and it was a great script, really good fun.
That sounds pretty cool. Yeah.
No, yeah, you know,
I was
a fun Saturday popcorn film.
I was really kind of biting my tongue on that question, because I'm a huge Jason Fleming fan, and as soon as I saw that he was in this movie, I was like, yeah, okay, has to be seen. Like, and you're right. Every sort of behind the scenes featurette you see with him, he does look like a genuinely awesome guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, we were in Greece doing this film, and he you know, he was doing The Missing in Belgium, and he was supposed to go home and spend the weekend with his kids, and he didn't. Instead of that, he caught a flight on the Friday night when he'd finished, arrived in Greece on Saturday morning. We booked a hotel for him just so he could get his head down for a couple of hours by the airport. Then we had a car take him to the port. He got on a speedboat, came to the island where we were filming, and literally he started filming as soon as he got off the boat. It was like, right, the ferry's coming in, you get on the ferry, you're coming off the ferry now. Started filming with him, we filmed the whole day, we all went out for dinner, and then when I went to pay the bill, I found out he paid for the entire cast and crew.
Oh,
and then,
bless him.
And then we had a speedboat for him the next morning, took him back to the airport, boom, and then, you know, Sunday night back in Brussels, Monday morning back on the film set, and Missing. And if you look in the first scene he does in Missing, he's got a tan. And that's because he went to Greece on the weekend just before he shot that scene, which wasn't in order. So he's got a slight tan in one of his scenes, which is quite funny. But I mean, that's how dedicated he was to helping us out. And yeah, I mean, I owe him an awful lot, no question about that. And like I said, as a friend as well, he's been really great. Yeah, can't praise him enough. Really.
And Mike, did you get to share any scenes with Jason, or?
Not yet, no. I've not worked with Jason. I haven't met Jason. I don't know Jason. I know his work, and again, you know, I as you guys have said, you know, I can't really add anything to that. I can't fault him. He's fantastic. So yeah, I'm sure I will get an opportunity to meet him, and I really look forward to that. You know.
I think. As Bailey, you've got probably about 3 scenes with him, because he's playing. Assuming
it's 3 or 4 scenes. Yeah, it's 3 or 4 scenes.
I mean, as long as schedules work, he's going to be playing Brigadier Poet. If schedules don't work, then I was actually due to do a cameo in the movie, and he'll be doing my cameo instead, also playing commanding officer. But because I'm really not asked about doing my cameo, so. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens there, but hopefully we can get schedules to work, because he is always working. That's going to be a big problem for actors. And you know, I mean, we'll be paying him and everything, but nowhere near what his price tag should be. You know, it's only the 2 big lead actors I think are going to be on the big paychecks on our film, and everybody else is going to be working for scale, more or less. But that's the only way we can get it made. So.
Yeah. Well, certainly tell Jason from if he's wanting to speak on a podcast about his new movie, then you know a couple of guys from Berwick upon Tweed who'd be happy to interview him.
Okay, well, when you've got all this edited and it's up online, why don't you send me a link and I'll send it to him to have a listen?
Absolutely.
And there you are, Jason. If you're listening, these guys want to do a podcast about Eat Local and your career in general, which is make sure he tells you the story about the Russian mafia when he was filming in Russia and the Louis Vuitton bag with the 75 grand in it that was on the bed in his hotel room. And we want you to do our film. I don't know, I'm not really available at the moment. You should do the film, Jason. It'd be very good for you. this sort of thing. It's got some crazy stories. Hilarious stuff. Mike Beckingham is going to be the next Jason Fleming. If you watch.
Well,
and
he's
a proper promising actor. Is our young Mr. Beckingham. And so when we went over to Normandy and he did the test photographs for us, he hadn't actually been cast in anything. Little story for you here, Mike. And when we did the first photograph inside the glider, and you can see that picture, it's on our Facebook somewhere, we went to take the photo, and I said to everybody, right, imagine you're on the glider, you're going to Normandy, think about everything that involves, because I need that for the photograph. And Mike was immediately, as soon as I said that, he was there. In his face just went in a completely different place. He was there. And I thought, shit, this guy really knows what he's doing. Because I hadn't seen him doing any acting at that point. So literally, that day when we got back to the hotel, Mike still doesn't know this, I'm straight on the phone to the casting director, Sharon Sorrentino. And I'm like, Sharon, Mike Beckingham's going to be amazing in this film. We have to give him the biggest part we can. I want him to play Bailey, because Bailey's quite a big role. And so probably should have gone to an actor with a bit more of a profile. But I said to Sharon, no, I want Mike to play Bailey, because Bailey's got a lot of really good scenes. And she said, okay, all right, calm down, Lance, calm down. We're not making a decision now. Let's wait till he does his audition. And fortunately, he stormed his audition as well. So I was not wrong in my assumption. There you go, Mike. You didn't know that story, did you?
I'm going red. I have nothing. But no, I did not know that story. But thank you very much for those kind words. And let's. Just going back to Jason. His career's been fantastic. So to do anything like that would be brilliant.
Well, the 365 Flicks podcast has been known for breaking British careers.
So
I'm sure you'll be a star now after being on here.
That's fantastic to know. Thank you. That's very kind.
But guys, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much to both of you for coming on the show. This has been great.
Absolutely our pleasure.
And again, thank you for letting us see that video, Lance. That really does look brilliant.
You're very welcome.
Good luck in getting the movie sorted. It's going to be great. I can't wait to see it.
Thank you.
Fantastic stuff. All right, thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
That's
it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Cheers.
I'm Jason.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Blake from the History of Bad Ideas. And we'll get back to your regularly scheduled program here in just a second, geek listeners. But we do a weekly podcast called The History of Bad Ideas.
Yeah, where we'll discuss things like television or movies or music or games or any other thing that falls into our geek-related podcast knowledge.
You can find us on Geek Life Radio, Fridays, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central. Or Radio-Blitz, Saturday, 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central. Or you can listen to us whenever the hell you want on iTunes and Stitcher. Check us out. Roger says goodbye.
Goodbye.
So that was one hell of an interview, Kev.
It was, man. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And you know what? We did that last Sunday. It's now Friday. It feels like a lifetime ago that we did that.
It does, doesn't it? It does. Well, that morning, the morning of the interview, I'd had several coffees by the time we did the interview, but that morning I wasn't entirely the freshest. I'd been out the night before, so I wasn't entirely the freshest. So I kind of, when I woke up, just wanted to stay in bed. But I'm bloody well glad that I didn't. I'm so glad that we got the chance to speak to those guys. That was just incredible. The
interview was good, but one thing we didn't really talk about, was sort of, before we played it, Let's tell people where they can find this. Let's tell people where they can find the website, where they can find the social medias, because as the man says, as Lance says during the interview, the social media plays a huge part in indie film right now.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is very, very important to them when they're getting finance for their movies that they've got a strong following on Facebook and Twitter. So first up, you can find these guys on, if you look on Facebook for Pegasus Bridge feature film. It's right there. Like the page, share the page, just do it. They're also on the Twitter. Just look for the same name, Pegasus Bridge, and they've got a really, really cool website as well.
They do. I love the website.
Type it into Google. It's right there for you. Pegasus Bridge, the movie. It's right there. Have a look for it. Don't forget to like and share the posts on their Facebook page in particular, because it's so important to these guys, and it's an important story to tell. But it's also important to get a good, solid British World War II movie out there.
Definitely. I mean, that's why you came with this straight away, and it's why you've been on at them to try and get them on, and you've been all about this from the very start. And when you're all about something, as I have said previous times, many times, I'm all about it.
So yeah, I'm very, very happy with that. And what we're going to do in honour of Lance and Mike coming on the show, and in honour of Pegasus Bridge, the movie, which will hopefully be coming very, very soon. I mean, he mentioned sort of towards the end of 2017.
Yeah.
Kind of way, hopefully, fingers crossed. But what we're going to do in honour of that is we are going to do a top 5 quickly now for you. It is top 5 war movies.
Yay!
Yeah,
we've actually had this one on the burner for a little while, but for some reason we've just never kind of gotten around to it.
Well, it's the perfect time, if anything.
Of course it is. I think maybe were you waiting for this interview to come up, and then you thought, right, we'll do it on that episode?
Well, this one was your idea. This top 5 was your idea.
Yeah, but I like to try and throw things your way, and then you get a little bit of the credit.
All right, fair enough. So yes, it was entirely my idea, and totally meant it. How did you find the top 5?
We are 100% professional.
Of course we are. Stop self-deprecating. How did you find this top 5?
I didn't find this one hard. I kind of knew my top 2 or 3, and then I had to kind of pull some other ones out of my ass. Because there are a lot of war movies out there. There are a lot of good
There are a lot of war movies, definitely.
But
now, we've said it's not, although Pegasus Bridge is a World War II movie, we have said that we're not limiting ourselves to World War II. We can do pretty much any war.
Yeah.
But because Kev was being pissy, we're not allowed a Lord of the Rings war, apparently. So, you know.
Because that's not a war.
Well, it is a war.
You are mental. You're not having that.
You're mental?
Don't
start with me. Don't start with me.
Okay.
But before we get to the top 5, just very, very quickly, we normally do a little segment on the show of what have we been watching.
Yes.
Now, I'm not going to get into a load of TV shows or anything like that, but last night I did watch a movie which is set in the Second World War. So it seemed relevant, if anything. And the movie is called, I'm hoping I'm going to say this right, is called Anthropoid.
Ah, yeah. No, I have seen this somewhere.
And it stars Cillian Murphy, or is it Cillian Murphy?
Cillian.
We had this conversation. Cillian Murphy, Toby Jones, J.B. Dornan. There's loads of other actors in there as well. It's a really, really solid cast. The movie is based during the Second World War, after the Nazis have annexed Czechoslovakia, and Czechoslovakia was kind of used as the Nazis, they used their factories and what have you, you know, for building bombs and building tanks and planes and all that shit. So this movie is about an attempt on an SS soldier or an SS officer who was in charge of all of that area, sort of Czechoslovakian area. He was called his nickname was the Butcher of Prague. He was basically brutal as a bastard, as SS soldiers tended to be. So this is the story of their attempt to assassinate this guy. And this movie is fucking fantastic. Seriously good. I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm not going to, tell you much more about the plot of the story. Everyone puts in a fantastic performance. I'm actually quite pleased for Jamie Dornan to be doing this. This is the guy from The Fall with Gillian Anderson, and also unfortunately from the 50 Shades movies. So it's quite good to see him doing a movie where he's not kind of a joke, bless him.
Yeah, he is.
Because he is actually a cracking actor. I mean, he could be the best actor in the world. I've not seen the 50 Shades movie. I ain't gonna.
I wouldn't bother.
So, but, you know, because he's in those movies, you kind of get the impression of it's like, oh, that guy, really?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
He is a cracking actor, and he does a great job in this movie. Cillian Murphy is great in anything he does.
Oh, he's one of those actors that as soon as you see him, it's like, yeah, I'm watching that.
Yeah.
He is a fantastic actor. Again, unfairly underused, but, you know.
Well, that's it. But he mostly plays bad guys.
Yes. Like Scarecrow.
Other than Peaky Blinders, but Peaky Blinders is awesome too. So that's Anthropoid. I would highly recommend it. It's a solid 9 out of 10 for me.
Excellent. I'll give that a watch.
Absolutely fantastic movie.
I have seen it trailered somewhere. I'll give that a watch.
And we'll leave it at that.
I love a bit of Cillian Murphy, so...
Oh yeah, definitely. So from that, I just want to mention that because I was watching that last night and I was absolutely mesmerised by this movie. Really, really good.
Well, that is a review you cannot mess with.
Ain't it? So, let's talk top 5. So, you go first, Kev. What's your number 5 of the best war movies?
My number 5, and I've only put it in number 5 because it's not necessarily a movie that people love, but I do love it, and I think it's a bit of fun, to be honest. My number 5 is Spike Jonze's Three Kings.
Is that the one with George Clooney?
George Clooney, Mark Wahlberg, and Ice.
Oh, yeah, sure.
That's
a good movie.
It's a bit of fun. They tried to say something with the politics of the whole situation. I believe it was the Iraq War that it's all about.
It was the first Iraq War, wasn't it? Was it not towards the or like after the end of the first Iraq War?
It's pretty much to the end when they go after Saddam's gold. And I love that movie. I think it's really well made. It's got some great little cutscenes. Spike Jonze is intricate as fuck with some of his camera work. Not all of it. Some of it really doesn't pan out. But I do. I love that movie, and every time it's on, I will watch it because it's an Iraq movie that's a bit of fun, to be fair. But
fair enough.
But it also has something to say, and at that point in time, Clooney was pretty much like, he was on the bubble. He was just about to kind of explode.
Was this pre or post Bat Nips?
Oh, I would hope it's post.
No, that is a solid ass movie. It really is. I've not watched it in a long time, to be fair, but it is a good movie. It's got Marky Mark as well, isn't it?
Yeah. I put it at number 5 because it doesn't necessarily have the gravitas of the rest of the movies I've got on my list.
Yeah.
But I just think it's fun, and I wanted it on there, so that's my number 5.
Fair enough, then. So my number 5, I have actually hobbied my number 5.
Had a feeling you might when you told me that you were having trouble.
No, there's a reason. It's 2 movies. 2 movies set during the Second World War.
Okay.
One of the movies is from the German perspective towards the end of the war.
All right.
And one of the movies is from the British perspective, sort of around about the middle of the war. They're both World War II movies, but there isn't a great deal of action in them. It's mostly sort of dialogue and what have you. The first of the movies is Downfall.
Excellent.
And the second of the movies is The Imitation Game. Because that's a great movie.
Yeah, I never even thought of that one.
Yeah. So they are war movies technically, but it's not like, you know, a load of explosions.
Yeah. It's a more personal, like introspective story, isn't it?
Exactly. So, you know, I think they belong together on the list.
For those of the people out there who aren't sure what Downfall is, and I'm mainly firing this at Americans, but for those of you who don't know what Downfall is, it's that Hitler video that you've seen on YouTube a million times over.
Yes, it is. So the scene where Hitler just kicks off and starts chucking people out of the room and stuff, that's one tiny scene
Yeah.
Although, once you've watched one of those movies, it's very hard to go back to watch Downfall and not think about them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Downfall is an amazing movie. Bruno Ganz is unbelievable in that film. I do love that film.
If you don't know what it is, it's set in the last days of World War II in Hitler's bunker. And it's just basically Hitler being a crazy bastard.
Yes.
Essentially.
Pretty much.
Yeah. And it's really, really good. The Imitation Game stars Benedict Cumberbatch, Keira Knightley, and I forget the name of the guy off the top of my head. But it's basically the invention of the world's first computer in order to crack the German Enigma codes.
Yeah.
That's the premise of the movie. Everybody's surely got to have heard of this movie.
Yeah, it won a few Oscars, didn't it? And Benedict did really well.
I think Benedict was...
He didn't take the Oscar.
Benedict does it for buds. I think Benedict Cumberbatch was nominated, but I think he lost out to Thingy, who played Eddie Redmayne for the
when he played the boy girl.
No,
the Danish
when he
girl
played Stephen Hawkins.
Oh, was that the same year?
I think so.
Theory of Everything.
I think so. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Wow.
But I think that was the same year.
Excellent.
I'm sure it was. Yeah.
Good year to be
so,
British.
What?
Good year to be British. My number 4, I also hobbied, but it's for a better reason than why you hobbied yours.
Shut up.
My number 4, both movies were directed by Clint Eastwood. Both movies came out the same year, and the movies are two sides of the same story.
Yeah.
You had the American side of things, which was called Flags of Our Fathers, and you had the Japanese side of things, which was called Letters from Iwo Jima. I think I prefer Letters from Iwo Jima, which is strange because that's the one that's all subtitled and stuff. But I couldn't separate the two movies. I really couldn't. I loved both films. Both casts are great. Both films really, really hit you where you live. The Iwo Jima one is a lot more like just I was going to say depressing, but it's not that depressing. It just kind of hits you where you see the real atrocities of what went on. Whereas Flags of Our Fathers is more the heroic side of things. Two fantastic films, and for Clint Eastwood to make them both at the same time, the man can direct, we know that, but he did a cracking job with those two movies. So
yeah, I completely agree with you there, and I never actually thought of either of those two, to be honest with you.
Really?
Honestly, I never even thought of those.
That was one of my definites right from the word go. I couldn't decide which one, so effectively.
But they were two fucking phenomenal movies.
Aye. And how he got overlooked for those movies is just mental. But I mean,
well, politics and stuff.
It's not like he needs another Oscar, so.
No, he's got plenty. So my number 4, it's not set during a modern war. My number 4 is set during a war, a massive epic war. It's during the Crusades. And my number 4 is Ridley Scott's Kingdom of Heaven.
I really thought you were going to go the other way there and say Star Wars.
Well, you wouldn't let me do anything like that.
I would have let you.
I wasn't allowed Lord of the Rings. How am I allowed Star Wars?
I would have let you had Star Wars because that could happen. But yeah,
well, it's already happened apparently a long time ago.
So, Kingdom of Heaven. Mm-hmm. You do love this movie. You have a major boner for this movie.
I think the movie is overlooked.
It definitely is. It's a great movie.
The director's cut is way better than the theatrical cut. Let's just put that out there. So if you are wanting to try, I've said this before, if you are wanting to try this movie, go for the director's cut. Don't go for the theatrical cut. There's so much more in there, so much more story. But it's an overlooked movie.
Yeah, it definitely
really seriously is. It's you got Orlando Bloom in there. Orlando Bloom, and it's just basically Legolas, but not an elf.
With a sword.
You got Eva Green. I think is it Eva Green?
Okay.
I think she plays the Queen in there. I think.
Meanwhile,
this Liam Neeson as well. Just again, Liam Neeson in basically playing like Qui-Gon, essentially.
Take him with the sword.
Yes, exactly. But it's a fucking fantastic movie. It really is.
It is a good movie. I like Ridley Scott's movies. He's never really let us down too bad. Prometheus, but
Prometheus, yeah, but by gods. But Kingdom of Heaven, I would put that on a Sunday afternoon if it wanted a bit of sordiness.
A bit of swordiness.
Exactly.
But not swordedness.
No, it's Sunday night. So what's your number 3?
Wowzers. When you're out for your haggis dinner.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, you know.
My number 3...
She started it. What?
My number 3 is also a Ridley Scott war movie. And
I know which one you're going to say.
It's not set back in the Crusades. And I do feel like you're going to give me shit for this one. But it's one of those movies that, again, like you've just said, I can put on any time and just sit down and watch. Black Hawk Down.
Yeah.
Again,
I had a feeling, mate, that you were going to put this on your list, and it's your list, nothing to do with me. A lot of people, you know, I had a look through Google before when I was putting my list together, and just sort of for ideas, you know, and yeah, a lot of people love this movie, and each to their own. I personally think it's overrated. I think it's too, you know, salutey and
it's very,
all that shit.
It's very like
I just can't get away with it. But go on then. Why do you love the movie so much?
It is very hoorah American, and it is very, like you say, salutey and stuff. But it's one of those movies that has an all-star, like it is an all-star cast. Like everyone in there was either big at the time or has gone on to become huge. I mean, you've got Tom Hardy in there, and a blink and you'll miss him cameo. He gets maybe like a minute's worth of screen time. You've got Orlando Bloom in there, like pretty much getting crippled within 10 minutes of the movie. You've got Ewan McGregor playing a muckle shite bag. You've got one of our Brits. I can't think of his fucking name. He played Spud in Trainspotting.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean.
Ewan Bremner. You've got an awesome cast. You've got Eric Bana all over the damn place. And then it's just a hard story for me. Like, when they get in there and they think it's a routine operation, and it's like, they call it the suck for a reason. Like, they just get there and it all goes to hell. I do hate the bit at the end when there's not enough room in the tank, so they all have to run. But apparently that was a thing, and that happened. Like, that's true. In the movie, they do very much make it like, oh yeah, like we're Americans, so we're going to run to the base. Not as in a case of, right, we can't get in that tank, so we have to run for our lives. It just more looks like they're out for a gentle stroll. But apparently that's the thing that happened, so I'm going to let them off with that. I love Black Hawk Down. You know, you cannot hear somebody scream RPG enough times in a movie for me. And that I think that movie's in the Guinness World Book of Records for that.
Is that a thing, or just make it up?
I'm just making that up. But yeah, Black Hawk Down, not Ridley Scott's finest movie. Probably not even his best war movie. Because obviously, like, Kingdom of Heaven, it is a great film. I didn't even think of that one. But Black Hawk Down.
Yeah. Well, fair enough. You know, each to their own. You're in the majority with that movie. You know, a lot of people love the hell out of that movie.
They do seem to.
I just can't get away with it. I tried rewatching it when I got Sky Movies back in. I tried rewatching it. Honestly, I just couldn't get away with it.
Yeah.
I put it off. I just couldn't get away with it. But what are you going to
do? What are you going to do?
So, number 3. I am going back to WW2.
I really thought you were going to say WWE.
This is a recent movie. It's a movie directed by Angelina Jolie. I think it's her directorial debut. It's a movie starring a British boy, Jack O'Connell.
Us Brits are all over these war movies.
They bloody well are. We are taking over podcasts and everything. And the movie is Unbroken.
Yeah.
Have you seen this movie?
You're loving like the personal ones, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're really loving the personal ones.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen Unbroken yet. You keep telling me to watch it. I really want to watch it because Jack O'Connell. But I just can't get past Angelina Jolie directing it.
Oh, mate, don't think about that. What do you think? What is the worst thing that you... Do you think it's going to be little adopted children flying about the screen or something?
Wow.
What, too far? Is that too far?
Well, it is a war, so, you know, there were plenty of adopted children during that time.
Well, no, this is in the Japanese prisoner war camps. I don't think there's many adopted children in the Japanese prisoner war camps. This is an amazing movie. Don't let the Angelina Jolie thing ruin this movie for you. Just focus on Jack O'Connell because he is a fucking cracking actor.
Oh, we know this. Jack O'Connell is unbelievably talented. You know, if you want to see Jack O'Connell as absolute level best for me personally, and you might disagree, was a Martina Cole TV show that was on Sky.
The Take?
No.
The Take?
That was
no.
Tom Hardy. It was The Runaways that he did.
The Runaway, yes, aye.
And
yep.
it is fantastic, and he is so good in that show.
Yes,
again, Martina Cole's The Take. If you want to see Tom Hardy at his absolute level best, watch The Take. But yeah, Jack O'Connell, I will watch it. I'll get around to it.
I think you should.
I will. I promise. One day.
Right. So, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is another Marky Mark movie.
Oh.
Because he made a couple. And no, it's not Transformers.
He has made a couple.
It's not Transformers 4. This was one that was 100% on my list. I had 3 movies that were 100% on my list. One of them was my number 1, the other one was this one, and the other one was Three Kings. Both Marky Mark in them. And this one is Lone Survivor.
I love that movie.
Came out a couple of years back. It has Ben Foster, it has Taylor Kitsch, it has that kid I love and I always forget his Emil Hirsch and Marky Mark, and it's such a good movie. The 4 guys trapped in the middle of Afghanistan, and all fucking hell breaks loose, and it's probably one of the most brutal portrayals I've seen 4 people go through. The shit they go through in that movie, how they're surviving is beyond me, but from when the movie opens and you see them in SEAL training, which is like, it looks harsh as fuck, because from what you read on the featurettes and all that, the behind the scenes sort of thing, they literally went through all that shit. Like,
yeah,
the 4 of them got together and did that, and you know they do, because Ben Foster's very, very method with his acting. Emil Hirsch is extremely method. Taylor Kitsch, John Carter, maybe not. He does what he can for a job nowadays. And then you've got the likes of Peter Berg behind the camera directing, and you cannot beat Peter Berg. So
absolutely, as I said, I love the shit out of that movie. It's a great movie. And
it kind of came out at a time when Marky Mark wasn't exactly like doing good stuff. Like, he was pretty much just
like now?
Yeah, he was pretty much just picking up a paycheck most of the time. And then
like now?
And then this came out, and it was very, like you say, you've got personal movies on your list. It was very personal. It was 4 guys. It seemed like they would have done anything for each other. I love the story, I love the movie, and I think Peter Berg is an amazing director.
So, my number 2, I'm going away from WW2 now, but I'm going back to it for number 1, don't you worry about that. So, this movie is set during the Vietnam War, and stars an absolute legend of a man, who I think this is his best movie that he did. It's Robin Williams, and the movie is Good Morning Vietnam.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't think you would go there.
Is that because there's no orcs in Good Morning Vietnam?
Is there not? Mork from Orcs.
No.
Mork from Orc, he's in it. Nanu, Mork and Mindy.
Oh,
come on, man! You just.
I know who Orc is.
Get ahead of your game. So yeah.
So Good Morning Vietnam. I love that movie.
I do love that movie. It's a great movie. I think when we did our tribute to Robin Williams, did you not forget to put that in there?
But then I did write a thing on the website.
Yeah, you
when
did.
He died.
You did.
I feel it was quite heartfelt.
You made up for it.
Aye. So there. Suck it.
You said nanu.
Yep.
So you love.
So every night.
You love Good Morning Vietnam, do you?
I love Good Morning Vietnam. It's an absolute cracking movie.
I honestly thought you were going to go Apocalypse Now there.
No, and I'll tell you for why. Because isn't that the one where they kill a cow?
Yes.
Yeah. Because I hadn't seen that. Like, not long after, we sort of met each other and all that kind of shit. Mm-hmm. I hadn't seen that, and I think you gave me a bollocking for it. So we sat down with a few beers and that, and got to the cow slicey openy scene.
Yeah, you didn't like it.
I didn't like that. I don't care for that at all.
It's still a good movie.
It's a good movie, but I've not watched it since.
It didn't make my list, so don't worry about it.
You know what didn't make my list, and we'll do honourable mentions in a second before we get to our number ones.
Of course we will.
But what didn't make my list was a movie that is cracking, but it's Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah, no, because to be honest,
it's like Saving Private Ryan. It's a bit obvious for me. So Saving Private Ryan is a bit obvious for me. But Good Morning Vietnam is an awesome movie, and I know that Robin Williams made a lot of great movies, but for me, this is my favourite Robin Williams movie.
No, it's a good show. It's a good show. A lot of people love Good Morning Vietnam. I'm not a huge fan of Good Morning Vietnam, but I do like it. So yeah, I'll let you have that one.
Happy days. So we got a little bit of listener feedback, or poop shoots, if you will.
I didn't even realise you'd put it out there.
Well, to a select few. Well, I was speaking to Jason, to Brigger anyway, so I just happened to ask him. So he said, number 5, Glory. Now, this almost made my list. Are you aware of the film Glory?
Glory. Denzel?
It's set during the American Civil War, and it's about the first all-black regiment.
Denzel.
During the Civil War. Denzel, Morgan Freeman, Matthew Broderick as well. Great movie.
It is a good movie.
Great movie.
It is.
Number 4, Enemy at the Gates. Another great movie.
Yep.
Number 3, Red Dawn, the original one.
Oh, I didn't even think of Red Dawn.
I know. I was more upset about Enemy at the Gates, actually. That's a good film. Number 2, Starship Troopers. And number 1, you'll like this, Black Hawk Down.
Yay!
Yay! So I asked the Berwick Free Trade B team, best pool team in Berwick.
Allegedly.
Only a couple of them came back this time. Lazy. So Aaron said Saving Private Ryan, and Chris Meekin said Fury, and he also said Survivor. So that was that. So have you got any honourable mentions?
We did get one more poop shoot from my wife that I wasn't going to mention, but she said that if I didn't put it in my list, I had to at least shout it out on the episode. She wanted me to put in Private Benjamin.
Oh, with Goldie Hawn.
And she got told hell to the no. At which point,
I actually watched that back in the day. I remember watching that.
At which point she then said, well, what about the Steve Martin Sergeant Bilko? And that nearly made my list. That's actually an honourable mention for me.
I remember watching that as well. Yeah.
Honourable mentions. I did have Apocalypse Now, but the thing about Apocalypse Now is that it's a good 3.5 hours of just awesome cameos. Like, Robert Duvall is fucking excellent in it. You know, I love the smell of napalm in the morning. Like, Brando, when he comes in, nobody's telling me that Brando's a character in that movie. He is a cameo in that movie. But he's fantastic when he gets there. You know, Lawrence Fishburne, young Lawrence Fishburne, looking about 12, not hit Morpheus phase yet. You know, it's got a great cast, but it all feels like cameos to me, so I couldn't go for it. I love Platoon, but again, the same thing. It all feels like cameos. You've got a fantastic cast of people coming in, but I wanted to go for Dead Presidents. Remember Dead Presidents? But that's more to do with the after effects of war, sort of them coming home and not having shit, so they do a bank job kind of thing. I love Dead Presidents. And I think the last one I was going to go for, but I think it's pretentious as fuck, was Jarhead.
You think Jarhead's pretentious as fuck?
Oh, fucking right, I do. It's just Sam Mendes, just... I love it. I don't get me wrong, I love the movie. I do love the movie. I just think it's a bit up itself.
Right. A bit pleased with itself.
Yes, like Sam Mendes realised that he'd done a good job. He'd filmed some awesome shots that looked spectacular. Jake Gyllenhaal giving a good performance, as Jake Gyllenhaal always does, and he's got a kick-ass Kanye West song on the trailer, so what could possibly go wrong?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. It's not
Fair enough.
It's not your number one, is it?
No. Oh, Christ, nowhere near it. Honourable mentions, I had The Hurt Locker.
Mm-hmm.
Damn fine movie. I had Valkyrie.
Yep.
Tom Cruise. Another damn fine movie. Crimson Tide.
Oh, man.
I know.
Oh,
another one. Well, I put down... you boiling with that one. I put down Saving Private Ryan because, you know, you can't have a war movie list without Saving Private Ryan in there. Everybody should watch Saving Private Ryan at least once.
It's a great movie.
Now, the other one I've put down as an honourable mention is a movie called Gallipoli.
Yeah.
With a very, 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 very young, possibly less racist Mel Gibson.
Was he ever less racist?
Well, I don't know. Okay. So this is set during the First World War. The very, very tragic and infamous story of the Battle of Gallipoli. It was a fucking massacre. And this was a very, very early on Mel Gibson. And it's, the story itself, I did ask Lance during the interview about the Battle of the Somme and all that, the 100th anniversary, and Gallipoli is a story that has had movies made about it. There was just recently one on, I think it was History Channel, or one of those ones, on the very rare occasions that History Channel does stuff about history. If it was even that. It's probably, but whatever. And it had a really good cast, but now I can't remember any of them. But it was, again, it was about Gallipoli, and it was cracking. So I just wanted to mention that one.
No, good
well.
Shout. That is a good shout. That's a very good shout. I will give you that one.
So, what's your number one?
My number one, and you're not going to see this one coming. My number one is a Korean. It's set in the Korean War, one of the lesser known kind of wars. It's called Brotherhood. Did you ever see a film called Brotherhood?
I have never heard of it.
This movie, I watched it in the video shop. It came out back in 2004. It is such, you talk about your personal stories, it's such a fucking great movie. You know, every now and then, not every now and then, a lot of the time, the Koreans, Japanese, Chinese, they make a stunning movie. Like Infernal Affairs, I've always said Infernal Affairs is a fantastic movie. This movie is so beautifully shot, it would put Steven Spielberg to shame. It's so well written that Tarantino couldn't touch it. It's just such a great movie about these two brothers during the Korean War. Like, they get drafted into the war. They really don't want to be there. And it's like the story of how, one of them is a little bit more, he's soft as shit. So he's sort of he doesn't want to go because he thinks he's going to die straight away. And the other brother is a little bit harder, but he feels like he has to protect his brother. So he literally becomes sort of a killing machine.
Right.
He basically takes every suicide mission possible, really, so that he can protect his brother from having to fight. And it's so crazy because, it's a story of, how the feeble one sort of gets really dismayed at the fact that his brother's become this monster and the brother's just going for it. And you kind of get a little bit of an ending that you really do not expect. It throws you for a curveball. Brotherhood's a fantastic film, and I urge anybody who's interested in any sort of war story, this is the one you need to go and see.
Okay.
2004, I'm sure you'll get it on Netflix or wherever. It's a great film. It is a little bit hard to get into at the start, but once you bear with that first 10-15 minutes, you'll be in it for the long ride, and honestly, you'll come out of it just a little bit exhausted but relieved. It's a great film.
Yeah.
And I never forget, I watched it in the video shop when I worked there, and that night I took it home and I watched it again because it was just fantastic. I couldn't believe what I just watched.
Yeah, and that's what you want.
As soon as I said that this was going to be the topic, this was without a doubt my number one, because it's one of those, a good war movie sticks with you and it stays in your mind and it stays there and it sort of just ferments in your brain. This one has always stayed with me and I love it.
On that note, my number one is a similar in the fact that it kind of sticks with you. Because I've not seen this movie in a good, 10 years. But this movie is a Spielberg movie.
Okay.
It's set during the Second World War. And it's set in a Japanese war camp. And it stars it has a very, very young Christian Bale. My number one is Empire of the Sun.
How did I forget that film?
I very, very, very nearly forgot that film myself.
I cannot believe I forgot that film.
I love that movie. I still do love that movie.
It's a great film.
There are moments in that movie where I remember fucking welling up.
Aye.
Like crazy.
You remember
the moment in the movie where Christian Bale is, I think he's speaking to John Malkovich in it, and he's all he's kicking off and all that, and he says to him, John Malkovich sort of grabs hold of him and he sort of says, what's wrong, sort of thing, and he goes, I can't remember what my mum looks like.
Aye. Oh,
it's oh my god.
That's a phenomenal
it's a fucking great movie, and this movie, when I was doing my list this afternoon, this movie sort of like jumped into my head all of a sudden, and I googled it, and I was like, "That's a Spielberg movie."
Yeah,
I had no idea that was a Spielberg movie. I knew it, like, obviously when it was on TV all the time back in the day when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
You probably saw directed by Steven Spielberg, and you thought, "Oh, Jaws guy." But holy shit, this is a good movie.
It's a great movie.
This is an awesome movie.
I honestly can't fathom how that even escaped me. it wouldn't have made it that high, but it definitely would have been on there. Yeah, damn bollocks.
There was one other movie that I wanted to add, which I think is also a Spielberg movie, and it's set during the First World War, and the movie is War Horse. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, the Tom Hiddleston film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another great movie, but I couldn't quite fit it in my list.
No, I wouldn't have had that. I watched it, but really I just had it on, and that was about it.
Well, it's got an animal in it, and you're supposed to feel for the animal, and you're dead inside. So.
Okay.
Right.
Don't pull back the curtain on that one. So that's been the top 5.
That's been the top 5, and this has been a good episode.
It has been.
We've had an awesome interview. Once again, have a look for Pegasus Bridge feature film on Facebook. Like it, share it, look for them on Twitter. Have a look at their website as well. Get involved. Tell these guys how good they are. We cannot wait to see this film.
We cannot. It's going to be good. I'm looking forward to it. And Lance gave us a fantastic little preview, which we so weren't expecting.
Basically, it's a trailer for the movie that has been made exclusively for the fight. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And it looked pretty badass.
It looks amazing. I can't wait to see it.
It does look amazing, and it is going to be. It's going to be a great film. And as you said, it's great to see a story told from the British perspective.
Well, that's it. I mean, we've all seen countless American World War II movies. I mean, they're for the most part they're good movies and classic movies. But you know what? British war movies is what we want to see.
Definitely.
Pegasus Bridge. Look out for it.
So I'm going to play the outro in a second, but first of all, remember iTunes, Stitcher, Facebook, Twitter, 365 Flicks Podcast. You can find us absolutely anywhere. Google the name, you will find us like a couple of badass sumbitches. So this has been episode 52, a bit of a different episode, and we have been Kev and
Chris.
And I'm going to play this one because that belt is coming back.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money.
Dollar.
That's not acceptable.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
Dollar.
Yeah, I know.
Nah.
But you can't mention that when you're interviewing someone whose brother they are.
You can't, but heads up would have been fine if we had spotted that sooner.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, it's cool.
But yeah, just to let people know what happened
Uh-huh.
is when we read this on IMDb, you bloody well got so excited that you punched me in the arm and gave me a dead arm.
Well, I wasn't expecting it.
Well, I wasn't expecting to be punched in the arm.
Still did it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Jesus.
Let's be honest. If we had known that beforehand, we wouldn't have mentioned it anyway, because the guy was here to talk about the film he's making, and that's what we wanted to talk about. So,
exactly.
So episode 53 will be coming soon, and episode 2 of Another Damn Takeover will land probably before this one. And then we will be doing that again, which we have put the 365. Briggs has put the 365 belt on the line.
Yes, he has. I'm taking that sumbitch back.
I think I've got it in the bag, to be fair.
No, I think I have. I think you're wrong.
I think Charlotte's going to win it for me.
Aha!